She is a Raleigh-based documentarian and regional storyteller dedicated to uncovering the rich, untold histories of communities in the American South and beyond. Her debut documentary short, Quilt Journeys, premiered at the 2019 Black Star Film Festival, and her essay, A Black Woman Made This Beer, was awarded Best National International Reporting from the North American Guild of Beer Writers in 2022. Her current project is This Belongs to Us. It focuses on the overlooked contributions of Black women in American beer history, weaving together themes of culture, identity, and community. Give it up for Tinu Diver.
Right, mic check. All right, hello everyone. Good evening. My name is Tinu Diver. I'm really excited to be part of the RTP 180, the history of. And tonight, the history that I want to talk with y'all about is the history of Black women and their contributions to American beer history. So first, we need to go a little ways back and talk about African women as what I call the original brewmasters. So when you think of, your modern, brewery or tap room, it doesn't look anything like this photo for a lot of reasons. And what was really interesting is that I grew up with a pretty Afrocentric orientation around beer and beer history. I'm the daughter of Nigerian immigrants, and my parents have a family friend who works for Nigerian breweries. So the first brewer I ever met was a Black African man. I knew because of him that there's more Guinness that's drunk in Nigeria than in Ireland. True, it's a fact. And they actually have the second largest Guinness production plant in Nigeria. Yeah, isn't that interesting? I also grew up knowing about the history and the legacy of Ethiopians and Egyptians and South Africans brewing, and understood the role of things like beer and spirits and fermented beverages in kind of larger cultural milestones in how that was used in ancestral worship or in celebrations. And so as particularly when I moved back to North Carolina in 2014 and started noticing the space that breweries took up, both physically, geographically, but also culturally, and noticing how often those spaces didn't look like some of the communities that I came from, and are oftentimes were attracting clientele that looked really different than the surrounding community. I started thinking and wondering about, why was that the case, that this craft that's been with us since the beginning of civilization seemed to not reflect always the vast array of folks that have been a part of that legacy. And so I think one of the reasons about that might be kind of this idea of how we think about the archive, air quotes, archive, and how we think about what references we use to kind of validate history. One of the interesting sources of archival information that I have come to learn about working on this project have been runaway slave ads. So this is an excerpt from an ad that was actually placed in a publication called the Raleigh News and Record, which is the precursor to the Raleigh News and Observer. And this ad talks about a formerly enslaved woman from Franklin County, North Carolina, Patsy Young, so not that far from where we are. And one of the interesting things about this ad is that her enslaver, one of the ways that her enslaver described her was as a master brewer. And so it's been interesting over the last few years to kind of see in real time how the research around the contributions of Black women across the centuries and across the diaspora are being discovered in new, in my case, a very unexpected way. So when I think about the legacy of Black women's contributions to beer hiding in plain sight, one of the things that I really love about this project is how global of an item beer is, but how local of a story this is. The women that I've been documenting with have all connections in North Carolina, which is great. And this is one of them, Patricia Henry. Miss Henry is a native of Reidsville, North Carolina. Miss Henry is known for many things, but one of them is that she ran the Miller Coors plant that used to be located in Eden, North Carolina. So geography-wise, folks, we're Greensboro, go north, kind of near the Virginia border. one of the other really fascinating things about Miss Henry, she's in her 70s now. She's no longer brewing. She's retired, enjoying her retirement. But she was the first, not only black woman, but she was the first woman to be a brewmaster at a major macro brewery. So not a craft brewery, but a macro brewery. She's a Bennett Belle. She graduated from Bennett College. And so she's also a product of the really rich HBCU ecosystem that we have here in North Carolina that we're so proud of. And next, okay, great. And then another aspect of this legacy is another brewer by the name of Celeste Beatty. Celeste is someone that I came to know through a kind of chance interaction a few years ago at the Haiti Heritage Film Festival. I was there watching a film that another friend had in the festival. We took a little break to get some refreshments, and someone was pouring beer. And even at that time, I didn't fancy myself that much of a beer drinker, but was like, yeah, we'll try it. And the person pouring the beer said, this beer was brewed by a black woman. And we were like, really? And so that's when I came to learn. And the beer that they were pouring was from Harlem Brewing. Harlem Brewing is Celeste's brewery. Celeste is from Winston-Salem. She started her brewery in Harlem, but has been back and forth between North Carolina and New York in expanding her production. Celeste is kind of known as the first black woman to own her own craft brewery. And now I add this asterisk, that we know of, because as we're beginning to learn more and more about contributions of black women, I think that's an important distinction. And then Brianna Brake is a brewer I've gotten to spend a lot of time with in the last few years. Bree is, I need to, make the other shout out. Celeste graduated from Shaw, so that's very important to highlight as well. But Bree is a Durham native, and met her years ago at a black beer festival in Pittsburgh, and looked down at her business card and saw that she was operating in Rocky Mount, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But Bree's brewery, Spaceway, I think really speaks to this theme about how black women are imagining and seeing themselves in spaces that they traditionally have not been viewed in. So, tonight, I'm sure some of us might enjoy some beer, maybe, if the bar opens back up again. I do want to encourage and invite us all to really think about the history of the things that we often take for granted, the stories that are behind them that we might not even realize. And I think we should all, cheers to, the legacy of these stories that might otherwise be lost. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tinu. I want to raise your hand so Sarah Beth can find you. And in the meantime, let me ask this question. What was the most surprising or impactful discovery you made during the research for This Belongs to Us?
Well, as part of my research, I actually took the commercial brewing class at Wake Tech. Shout out to Wake Tech, which is... Yeah, Wake Tech, hey! Which is, for anyone who has any nascent interest in brewing, it's just a great program, and Clay, who runs the program there, does a phenomenal job. And I think what I learned was I just gained a whole deeper level of respect for how hard of a process brewing is. And so it's not sexy. It looks sexy when you go to a brewery, but yeah, the sausage being made is not that sexy. But and so I just have a lot of respect for folks who choose to pursue that path and are able to build a viable, brewing business. It's really impressive.
Hi, Tinu.
Hey, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I know you as a very important leader for DHIC, but I think we're all wondering when we're going to be able to hear about your brewery that's going to be opening up in the future. Is that going to happen?
Well, I've never seen it. There's no plans for brewery, y'all. No, I've definitely lend my labor to friends who do brew, help with canning and brew days and things like that, which is fun. But I don't know. Aluminum is really expensive right now.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Great presentation. Thank you. My name is Jaap, innovation consultant and beer lover. question, how difficult was it to dig and get this information, and where did you go to do this research?
Oh, that's a great question. Initially, I think with a lot, like with any project, you have this idea, and you just don't, it's just a thing. You don't know if it's there. And so, typically when you're working on a film project, research and development is like this concrete, phase that happens, kind of in pre-production, before you go in production. But for me, I feel like I've been doing research and development all throughout. I'm still in production on this project. But it was kind of like once one thread started pulling, the whole sweater started unraveling, right? So it was like finding about Celeste, going to Fresh Fest, meeting Bree, and then it just snowballed. And I think for me, it was really when I went to Fresh Fest, which was at the time it was the only and the largest Black beer festival. There's another beer festival now called Barrel and Flow. That kind of more from that. But that to me, it was like I felt like this anthropologist that had like found this, I don't know, civilization. It was like, oh my God, this whole like, beer culture and, whatever. And then I've really enjoyed the archival piece. And so like I've gotten to spend time up in Harlem at the Schomburg, which is kind of a very well-known archive for Black history and Black images. Again, learning about things like the story of Patsy Young and just thinking differently about like what the archive is and that could be. And I would say a lot of it is just one of the, I started working on this project right before the pandemic and through the pandemic, and one of the things that the pandemic offered me was the opportunity to really build relationships with the audience for the project in a way that I don't think I would have. And so that getting to know the community of beer, like folks who just love beer, has been really a big part of helping me navigate and do a lot of that research. It's, there's just been a lot of great relationships that I've been able to form. The Smithsonian has a beer kind of museum, and so I got to know the curator there. I've gotten to know curators at other places in like Chicago and other kind of major beer hubs. So it's been, the community has been a big part of the success of this project. Yeah.
Tinu Diver, everybody. Thank you.